It's Matty Fresh on the track up at State. And I'm bringing to you live my boys Alec and Nate. Tequila Ty, Jay, Nelly, and Zillin in the building. So kick it back, pour the drink. We chillin' because I'm boozing and betting and balling like I'm 2-6 in the blue kicks. Watch me move quick. Yeah, this the blueprint. So who's getting involved? Welcome into the show. This is Booze, Bets, and Ball, baby.
I missed that song. Haven't heard it in a while. It's been a while. But welcome back to Booze, Bets, and Ball, Penn State football podcast brought to you by Big Banter Sports. And it's been 3 weeks since we did a show, and I feel like nothing's happened, but at the same time, a lot has happened. Michigan won the national championship, which I know upset a lot of people. Nick Saban retired. Penn State got a new special teams coordinator. Penn State brought in a pretty solid transfer class. So a lot actually has happened. I guess we'll start with this because I actually jinxed the hell out of it, because last time we came on, I said, I think we're good on the coaching carousel. And then you reminded me that John Scott took the NFL job like really late in January. Well, Collins, who was the special teams coordinator, like took some weird, you went to some weird school out in the Midwest. Was it like BYU or something? Boise, something like that?
Boise State. Yeah.
Boise. But it was not really an upgrade. It was a lateral move. It was like the same position. So I don't know if he was kind of coerced out a little bit or what, but Penn State brings in Justin Lustig, I think is how you say it, from Vanderbilt, who apparently Pitt a week before asked him to fill the same position for them, and he said no. So that's an interesting one. But he was the associate head coach and special teams coordinator at Vanderbilt for 2 years. So another former Vandy coach on the staff. You know, the first one has done a lot of great things. So I don't know what to make of that move. I'm not going to get too much into special teams. I will say Penn State special teams is in a little bit of an interesting spot because you lose Daquan Hardy, who was first in the Big Ten in punt return yards. You lose, oh my gosh, who are we losing? The kicker. Yeah, Felkins is gone.
Yeah.
The punter comes back, Thompson, but you bring in Chase Meyer, a walk-on transfer to fill in for Falcons. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. Special teams will probably end up screwing them in a game next year, but on the surface, on the surface, not a lot to that one.
No, they'll find a punt returner. The running backs will return kicks, I guess. They'll find a punt returner. Daquan Hardy was not the punt returner halfway through this season, right? And it was Caden Saunders, and they adjusted. They've been very good about scouting kickers and punters out of the transfer portal, right? Going back to Justin Stout. So Jordan Stout, sorry. So I believe that they'll be fine. And as far as special teams coordinators go, this guy is apparently like a mastermind. So doesn't have the same cachet as Tom Allen and Andy or Adam. Oh God,
Andy, yeah, you're right.
I've been up since like 3 a.m. Cuddle Nicky, but it's something, and it is crazy that they have to replace all of them too. That's bananas. So
yeah, replacing your 3 coordinators. I know it's like special teams, but still a coordinator. This is the first time I think he's had to replace all 3 at the same time, because in 2015 the term like special teams coordinator didn't exist necessarily, because they added another coach was added around 2018, I think 19, somewhere in there was when you were able to add an additional on-field coach, which is when a lot of teams went to a specific special teams coordinator. So this is the first time Franklin has to replace all 3 at the same time, which is interesting. I guess we'll see how it goes. But that I don't want to get too far into this, but that part has me a little nervous about going to West Virginia the first game of the year. If that game was, the 3rd, 2nd, 4th game of the year, I'm, a little on edge, I'd say, but I'm still confident going in. But with that being kind of the opening volley for these guys, it's a little bit of a scary thing to think about.
Yeah, we'll see how that goes. It's going to be a tough game, but if they win, it's going to be like Wisconsin in 2021, I think, right? Where if they do end up going to win, you have a lot of great feelings about them through the rest of the year.
Yeah.
They haven't lost like an early big game since Pitt in 2016. So, and then the expectations were much lower then. So I don't know. We'll see what they learn. This guy though, Justin Lustig was the head coach at Edinburgh, and they went from 0-11 to 9-2 in 1 year. So
people will be calling for him to be the head coach by halfway through the year.
I know, but more PSAC, PSAC to Vanderbilt to Penn State pipeline.
Yeah, and I think Franklin does that because maybe it makes the state easier to recruit when your staff can relate to these guys a lot. The same areas, the same lingo, that kind of stuff. So I'm sure that does, factor into those hiring decisions. But so transfer class, man, this is a funny one because who do you think over the last 5 years were the 2 recruits that Penn State fans were the most disappointed they did not get?
Yeah. Well, who should it be? I mean, it is Julian Fleming.
Who it should have actually been versus what it was at the time.
Ryan Bressie is probably number 1, though, right? I would suppose, and Justin Fields going back a little bit longer, but But these two guys, just because they're in state both and stuff, that's where.
Right. Yeah. So the 2 kind of in-state 5-stars that got away from James Franklin over the last few years, receiver Julian Fleming and offensive lineman Nolan Rucci are now both enrolled at Penn State, which if you would have said that 3 years ago, no one would have believed you.
It would be crazy right now, right? Like if they both came out of high school, everything would have been much different probably.
Yeah, both of them have not lived up to the ranking that they were given coming out of high school, I would say. And Fleming has a little more defense, in my opinion, just because I think he was hurt early on in his career. And then when you start playing with Jackson Smith, Najigba, Marvin Harrison, Ibuka, Olave, Garrett Wilson, you can be ranked pretty high. You're going to get lost in the shuffle there no matter what. I mean, it's just how it is. He's going to be a starter here. He's going to be an upgrade over the majority of the guys we've seen in this room the last couple of years, I feel like. So I think, that's good. Rucci is not a surefire starter from what I hear. It sounds like he's going to compete for the right tackle job with Anthony Donko, who's actually going to be a true a redshirt freshman, because I don't think he burned his red shirt last year. But you actually saw him in the bowl game when the entire upper class opted out at halftime. So you saw him in that game. So I'm a little interested to see how that battle goes. I think it'll be an interesting one. So you have Rucci back, and then they got 2 cornerbacks. AJ Harris, who was, I think, a top 10 player in the transfer portal this year because he was a 5-star corner last year. And leaving Georgia, sounds more like he wanted more playing time. I don't think it necessarily is because he didn't live up to the hype. It's really hard to say after just 1 year with a guy. So I think that's a really huge addition for them because we're talking about a guy that's here for at least the next 2 years, I'm pretty sure. So that's a big one. And then they get Jalen Kimber, kind of an older guy. I think he has 2 years of eligibility remaining, but when he committed to Penn State, he said, for my last year in college or whatever, I'll be attending Penn State. So guy bounced around a little bit. Pretty sure he was at Georgia, then Florida. Not nearly as heralded as Harris in the transfer portal, but you lost your top 3 corners. So you get to bring in 2 guys that have some playing experience. I think that's pretty big.
Yeah. So where do you want to start? If we start with the Pennsylvania guys, we talked about this last time. I will beat this into the ground as much as I can. Julian Fleming coming here, whether he has 1,000 yards or 200 yards, is going to be very helpful to the wide receiver room that lacked discipline. And, just anything good about it last year. So you don't, like Tyler said, you don't spend 4 years with the Ohio State group and not learn stuff and not build a work ethic and, build some leadership likely. So that is the biggest thing, the best thing that could have happened to that room besides like Ibuka coming here, which was never going to happen. Right. So we don't get all of the production maybe, but you do get a lot of the mindset, and that's super important. Nolan Rucci, even if he doesn't start, if he's going to add depth, right? We're losing on the line, and they don't. We lose Olu, lose Norzad, Wallace, right? So,
and obviously Tangwell had to retire too, which I said would be a bigger problem this year than last year. And when you look at the depth chart, it does kind of look that way.
Yep. So, like you said, I mean, you're filling in a lot there. You want Drew Shelton to become the starting left tackle that Olu was, and we'll see. And then Donka, the right tackle, competing with Rucci, and then you got to figure out the middle a little bit. So that's an important one for depth, even if he doesn't start. And then, as we saw, and you can't read too much into this, but the young corners are still a little bit not quite ready. So, people say Zion Tracy's going to be amazing, and maybe he will be. Cam Miller did the whole sword in the sheath thing after giving up like 1,000 yards.
That was bad.
Like that's not what you want out of these guys. So yeah, let's get two SEC guys that, maybe, okay, Kimber maybe is not what Johnny Dixon's was or something like that, but he has played in a tough conference. And then, AJ Harris, can he be Kalen King, but maybe more consistent, right? Like he has more hype out of high school anyway. So I like that. That's an awesome pickup. And then now you start to build some depth back in corner. Safeties are going to be really good. Linebackers should be good, and the line should be good. So you really fill the biggest hole on defense, and you patch the biggest problem on offense, which is the wide receivers, and hope to build some more of that offensive line depth back. And you're back to having a lot of hope again.
Yeah, and I did not bring this up, but the top four, three of the top four defensive tackles from the team last year were all draft eligible, and they all decided to come back for next year. So that is a huge thing that Penn State has their top four defensive tackles back, which is pretty much, your rotation in big games, has them back for next season, which is significant for a couple reasons. One, you have a lot of young guys behind them, gives them time to develop. Two, you didn't have to go out on the transfer portal and waste a scholarship on getting someone and, spend NIL money to get them. So, that's huge. I don't know if you saw this stuff, but Penn State is at 99 scholarships right now.
Yeah. Is that current as of today?
As of, today.
23rd? Yeah.
Shit. So I don't know how that works. And a lot of people have been arguing that limit doesn't matter anymore because of NIL and stuff. And there's speculation from what I read on message boards and through Twitter threads is that when a guy graduates, a fifth or a sixth-year guy, they take them off a scholarship and they're just pretty much on NIL money. I don't know how that would work really, but I've seen people mention that.
So they're grad students though, right?
Yeah. So that's what I don't, because you'd still, if you're still, you have to still take some kind of class, right?
You do,
can't
but
sit there and do nothing.
What they could do, and so when I went to grad school, I paid zero tuition and got paid to go, right? Because I was a TA or whatever. So you be a TA, you be a GA. I don't know if they're making them do that, but there's probably GA ships or something similar to at least get their tuition waived. So they take a couple of classes and then, I don't know. It doesn't, none of this shit matters anymore anyway, right? They don't go to, I don't know. What was Cardale Jones, I didn't come here to play school or whatever. It's worse now than it was 10 years ago. But I don't know. I would like to understand better what the rules are. But if that's a loophole that they just have to graduate and then you can have unlimited scholarships of upperclassmen, that's crazy.
Yeah, I really don't know. I also think you're going to see some movement in the after the spring.
Yeah.
Spring camp session. Took a while to get that out. Because I think a lot of the receivers held on to see where they fit in this new offense. And I think once kind of the rotation starts to get set by the end of the blue and white game, some guys will see the light and head for the door. I also don't know how this team is going to have 6 scholarship running backs next year.
Yeah, we talked about that a lot.
Yeah, because we talked about how it could have been 7 because Potts could have came back. And I think, unfortunately, he maybe, in a perfect world could have came back, but they pretty much said, look, there's nothing we could do. And so, try in the NFL and hope for the best, I guess. But Yeah, I'm interested to see how that goes. I don't think this is the final number, though. I think some guys will get out of there, especially receiver with these defensive tackles coming back too. You could see some movement there. So there are two positions for sure where I think some guys will leave, but I still don't know if that gets you down 14 guys.
Yeah,
I mean, to get to 85.
Like you said, you have six running backs. You're not going to drop below 2 or below. You're not going to lose more than 2, right?
Yeah, they would not go. They don't want to go below 4. I don't think.
Right. So right now, I don't know how many wide receivers they signed this class. Do you know?
3.
All right. So there's 7 on our lads depth chart right now, plus 3 plus Julian Fleming. So that's 11. That seems like too many.
Yeah, because Lambert Smith is coming back.
Right. So you get him, and you get Harrison Wallace, and you get Amari Evans back. Hopefully, those are the probably 3 guys that you'd want to have back, plus Caden Saunders. If you lose Malik McClain, and Liam Clifford, does that help? It helps. Is that like you're not losing?
Yeah, I don't think McClain will not. I don't think you'll see McClain go just because he transferred once already. I don't know how that'll work, but
so yeah, it's a pickle. But again, like everything else, that's why they get paid millions of dollars to figure this out too. Linebacker is like pretty shallow right now. Really, you have. Shoot, I don't know, man. Like if you go look at that depth chart, which is not updated with the transfers or the freshman class yet, like there's some big holes, right, where there's things missing now, at least from a depth perspective. The starting crew is all going to be good, but you need 2 deep at least.
Yeah, so interested to see what happens there. Linebacker, I think they're banking on a lot of young guys like Rojas, Keys, Robinson, those guys from that prior recruiting class kind of come in there and help out with Carter and then King and Ellison still there and Dom DeLuca. So I think they kind of view that as their top 7, Keon Wiley too. So I think they have enough guys there for meaningful time.
I think the defense again will be very good, right? It probably will not be as good as this year just because Chop was really good and Curtis Jacobs played well and the secondary was the best probably in the country just about. But like even though Kalen King did not live up to what he was supposed to be quite, but they were still really good. So maybe instead of being 10 out of 10, they're like 8.5 out of 10 or something, and then you think that the offense should be better, but the line is going to be worse.
I think so.
The line is going to be worse.
Yeah, and I think even an 8.5 defense, I think would have been even good enough last year with a 6 offense in big games at least. So, I mean, we'll see it there. That's about it on Penn State centered topics. Not too much else going on right now with them, but there's a lot of college football kind of coaching shuffling going on. It's leading to player shuffling, which I'd say has hurt Penn State and also helped Penn State. So Nick Saban retires kind of out of the blue on a Wednesday a couple of weeks ago. Shocked a lot of people. And they go and sounded like they wanted Dan Lanning from Oregon at first. And then they stayed in the Northwest and went to Washington and got Kalen DeBoer. So the entire Washington was losing the majority of their team anyway. It was a very upperclassman heavy class, and a lot of those guys were going to the draft. But pretty much the entire program hit the portal at that point. They're expected back 2 of 22 starters from last year with a brand new coaching staff, which they come to Happy Valley, I'm pretty sure, in early November 7th, maybe somewhere around there. I do not see it being a kind first season for the Huskies in the Big Ten, just with that kind of turnover, both with the roster and the coaching staff joining a new conference. This past season was an awesome run for them, but they probably needed the natty because I think they're looking at a couple rough seasons coming up.
Yeah, and that's good because that was one of those games that, like, out of the new group coming into the Big Ten, I think Penn State plays them, USC, and UCLA. There was some time this year when we looked at that as the toughest game for Penn State next year. They did keep Will Rogers. They got him back out of the transfer portal yesterday. He was, as soon as DeBoer was hired, he went in the transfer portal because I think he was wanted to go to Alabama, but so yeah, they could suck, right? And that's good. that now the Penn State's toughest games next year become Wisconsin and Ohio State. And if you want to talk about like some of the knock-on effects of Nick Saban retiring, it's Ohio State getting Caleb Downs, and
that's where I was going with that.
Juggernaut of like the greatest defense and roster in college football history, basically.
Yeah, and they got Julian Sayin to come in at quarterback because they had all kinds of questions at quarterback heading in to next year. Although they have like Will Howard there now, and the kid from last year was the backup, Devin Brown, Aaron Nolan. Yeah, so they all of a sudden have like 5 guys that could start. So I think they'll be okay there. They they got JTT to come back. They got Sawyer to come back. I mean, they got a lot of their NIL. This is the difference. This is the difference between
they said what the
Penn State. Yeah, $13 million.
Yep.
It's kind of been the difference between Penn State and Ohio State in a fan base thinking process. Penn State loses big games. The fan base kind of gets mad and says, no, we won't do anything for you now. Ohio State loses 3 straight to Michigan, and the fan base kind of says, not again, and goes all in.
Yeah.
And now they have, in my opinion, I think they have the best roster in college football for next year, because they also brought in Judkins, the running back from Ole Miss.
Yeah.
Henderson's still there. This team's stacked. And they'll figure out one of these guys will be good at quarterback. So, and CJ Stroud apparently got in on this too, donated somewhere between 50 to 100,000. Doesn't seem like a lot. But that's probably, the difference between getting a Caleb Downs and maybe not. If another school, is offering him $1 million, you offer him $1.3 million, just having that extra fund in there helps. So, I mean, I hope the Penn State players start to get that kind of, generosity too. Saquon's headed for a contract. Micah Parsons is headed for a contract. Olu is going to be a early first round pick. Chop Robinson might be a first round pick. And Chop Robinson and Olu Fashanu were kind of the first 2 guys, I think, that Penn State's NIL made a significant difference with, getting Robinson here and keeping Olu around an extra year. I'm sure those guys were given, fine incentive. So hopefully they can give back a little bit. That would be nice, because I think them kind of leading the charge, I think, would rejuvenate the fan base a little bit to do the same.
Yeah. I want to look at something here. Sorry. Let's see. I'm going to go back to that. So the fans asking the fans to donate, your average everyday fan, I still think is terrible.
There needs to be incentive back.
Yep. Right. But okay, Ohio State just, this is according to sportstrack.com. Next year, Joey Bosa is going to make $22 million. Cam Hayward's going to make 16. Nick Bosa 17. Denzel Ward 15. Marshawn Lattimore 15. Terry McLaurin 18. You can add up enough guys that are making over $10 million a year to ask them each for $50,000 and, come up with 3 or 4 million right there. Right.
Yeah.
And that's a good chunk of it. And then you get some of these mega donors that Ohio State has, and they have rich people that went there. And you can really ease the burden if you you need to pull from the rich people that are alumnus or alumni and care about your school. And for some reason, I don't know, Penn State wants to, we saw in the group chat, Happy Valley United, you get a t-shirt and a hat and stuff, and that's cool. But you're not paying for Judkins with a hat and a mug, the amount of money you're getting for a mug. So something has to change. And I hate so much when I see it on Twitter. And they're like, oh, if every fan who went to the game donated $100 a month, blah, blah, blah. Okay. Yeah. But for some people, that's a lot of money. And people have other bills, and it's your job as the corporation to fund yourself and put the best product on the field that makes people want to go to see you and spend their hard-earned money on you. And you're not quite there yet. So it is kind of it's a catch-22 in a way, because it
is,
right. And you don't see the Eagles or the Steelers asking fans for more money for a salary. right?
Yeah.
It's getting to be the same thing, and it really this is like the one thing that really grinds my gears. And Corey Geiger talks about how the fans need to step up, and so do other people. And it's just like, no, the school's got to figure it out. The school raises funds. Do it for this if you care that much about it. Anyway, sorry.
Yeah, the one problem is, and I think there might be legislation coming out on this soon that will change this from what I've heard, but the school has to be independent of the NIL funds.
Mm-hmm.
They can't
because of the law in Pennsylvania, though, right? Like it's different.
Yeah. I think it is different in other states. So I don't know if that handcuffs them a little bit, where they can go to these specific people and be like, here's what you should do, but that doesn't mean they're going to go through with it. So I think that's kind of the problem they're having. But yeah, it is like what came first, the chicken or the egg? Did the team play good and then people put into the NIL, or did people put in the NIL and then the team, played good because they got better players?
And I agree with you about what you said with Ohio State. Like the rival, and maybe this is true, maybe not, but the rivalry between Ohio State and Michigan is so intense that like when you see your rival beat you when they haven't beaten you in like 20 years previous, or once out of 18, whatever it was, like that's a different feeling than what Penn State fans have. Like we lose, and it's like, well, it's the same old shit, and you got to fire Franklin, blah, blah, blah. Like people don't get motivated the same way that they do in Ohio State, and it's the rich people and the regular casual fans.
Yeah. So. And I think the thing is, even though they kind of feel like the South cares more about college teams and the North cares more about pro teams, the state of Ohio feels like the complete the exception in the North. Like they're Ohio State. Ohio State's in the middle of the state and everything. It does feel like it's opposite with them, and they are more invested in Ohio State than the Bengals or the Browns. And part of that is because those two franchises up until these past couple of years have been absolutely horrible for decades. So I think that plays a role in it too.
Yeah, and like you said, Columbus is right in the center of Cincinnati and Cleveland, right? So like
everyone's a fan,
right?
Yeah.
I don't know. Pennsylvania fans split with Pitt, I guess, to some extent, and Penn State and Notre Dame.
I kind of buried the lead here, but Bill O'Brien's the offensive coordinator at
that's crazy
Ohio
too.
State. But I thought Brian Hartline was, so I don't really know what the hell that means.
I thought he was calling plays this year, and they were going to be bad, and they did take a step back, but to no avail for the Nittany Lions. That's an interesting one because he kind of got ran out of Alabama a couple of years back, right?
Yeah, and ended up back with the Patriots. Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I don't know how that's going to go. I don't know who's calling plays there because I thought Dade called plays, and then Hartline became the offensive coordinator, and now Bill O'Brien's there, and all three of them are there. So I don't know.
And what's his name? Will Howard is more of a kind of running quarterback, right? He's not a pro-style quarterback, and Aaron Nolan, I'm guessing, is more of a his body shape is more of a running style quarterback.
Devin Brown, I think, is too because they were using him like Penn State was using Viola. Right? Yeah.
So, so how is he going to adjust to that? I'm not sure.
Yeah, so that'll be interesting.
Maybe they'll suck.
Yeah, I doubt it, but I guess we'll see. That's all the sports talk, or I guess college football talk on the field type stuff that I have for today. But I've been meaning to crank this out for a little bit, and I haven't. But went to, I think, the most amount of Penn State games I ever went in a year this year, because I think I missed one home game, but I went to 2 road games. I went to Ohio State, which was a terrible experience. And I went to Maryland, which blowout was fun, whatever, hanging out in DC. So I got around a little bit this year. And there's some things that have been annoying the hell out of me that happens kind of in the stands over years. And I kind of came to a boiling point this year where I started expressing these problems I had with people around me. And they're like, oh, you know what? You're kind of right. Or like, you're crazy. So I have my 3 biggest pet peeves in the stands at college football games. Number 1, this one's not really a big deal, but like the people that just casuals can't read the room. I don't know, this person a few rows behind my seats, just like whatever play it was, it could be 3rd and 20 or whatever, and she would scream like, give the ball to Nick Singleton. And it's just like, please read the situation. Like that is not going to happen. I know maybe you like him, maybe you know him, maybe he's from your town, but like, please do not be that loud if you're going to be that wrong. That's all I'm saying. Okay. Like, it's not a huge deal, but it's just kind of like after you do it like 4 or 5 times in one game and, we can't move the ball against Michigan, like, I'm going to get a little annoyed. The second one, I'm going to get crap for this because I got crap for this on Twitter. The band. If it's right before the half or they're in a hurry up offense or it's right, at the end of the game, they're trying to score and they hit like a big pass play or something and they're down on, down the red zone, the 15, the 10-yard line, and they're hurrying up to the line and they're trying to get a plan and you are blasting your song or whatever, please stop. Please stop. They are trying to communicate and get offensive plays in a score to win this game. You can play your song if they score and win the game, okay? But until then, just chill. I don't need you blaring your horns and stuff when they're trying to communicate. And especially this year now because the quarterback is going to get signals through the helmet over a headset. So even more so this year coming up, please stop. And third one kind of goes off of that. But when the home team is going for it on 4th down, please stop cheering. You are supposed to be quiet. Let them communicate. Let them do a dummy count if they want to do it. You're kind of ruining that. Every time it happens, the quarterback and the whole team will tell you to shh, and you still do it. So please stop cheering when your home team is going for it on 4th down.
You got a little old man yells at clouds a little bit.
I mean, a little bit. I know, but
I don't disagree with you in principle, right? And I think so. Like when the first one, okay, look, I am a casual fan. I don't know shit about football, okay,
right.
and I think I am slightly like if you took a distribution of the people on casualness, I'd be on the higher end. So. There's a lot of people below me, right? Like if there's 110,000 people there, there's a bunch of people that are just going to be like, give it to Nick Singleton, or they passed and it didn't work. And it's like, oh, you should have run, or they run and it didn't work. And it's like, oh, you should have passed. Like everybody second guesses everything. That's going to happen. And now that they're selling beer, that probably gets worse every time.
Oh yeah.
So people are nuts. Go out into any major city and just watch and talk to people and you'll find that out. The second one. So, what you're saying there is 100% true. So, like, if you're in an opposing, like if Penn State was at Auburn or if they're at West Virginia and they hit a big play, the stadium goes silent, right? And it's like so much to their advantage. But if they do it in Beaver Stadium and then the band starts playing Zombie Nation and everybody does the oh thing, right? Then it makes it worse, right? Because the
makes it louder
with the band. So like the band is instigating that problem.
Yeah.
That one I agree with 100%. The going for it on 4th down, I also agree with. Everybody just wants to have fun, but yeah, like if you're doing something on 4th down, right, that's in a critical situation, know what that's the casualness. Maybe people need to understand better to shut up. So
no, I don't mind if you're gonna be casual. I just don't need you to be the loudest person in my section.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
When you're saying something that is totally inaccurate, like I don't care if you want to say it to yourself or whatever, but like, come on, like.
That's the thing. Nobody wants to say anything to themselves, right?
Right. Oh, that's true.
It's society. It's social media. Everything is for everybody. And like, I went through my old Twitters, like my old tweets. I do this occasionally. It's like, oh my God, I can't believe I said that. And like, what the heck is the context of this? I just delete a bunch of stuff. But yeah, it's worse when you're in person and everybody's trying to make a joke or trying to be the smartest person there, and they're a moron, right? But that's how this works nowadays. I said I would come up with 3, but I don't know that I have many. I go to spend time with my kid, or God willing, my whole family, and we have fun. Hopefully we win, although lately that hasn't happened. The one that has, I guess, we went. Yeah, we're on a negative streak here. The one that kind of irritated me though is the bowl game this year was in Atlanta, and like there were far more kind of the hotty toddy, like the PA announcer was definitely Ole Miss bias, and like the songs that they were playing were definitely Ole Miss bias, and like that's a little unfortunate because you're really up against it then, but so that I wish in a bowl game like that where it's supposed to be a neutral site, I wish at least the stadium staff would pretend that it was. So that got me down. What else? I guess that's about it though. Yeah, sorry, I don't have anything to add to this conversation.
It's all right.
Wrestling. We can talk about wrestling. That's doing good now.
That'll be a whole thing. Yeah, I mean, they could stop hiding the beer stands too. I don't know if that's just a lack of volunteers or what, but like you have to go across the entire freaking stadium to get a beer there. They did make. Did you see that they made like $2 million though in alcohol sales this year?
Net or gross? Gross.
I don't know. I didn't look at it.
How much was a beer there? Like $10.
I think somewhere to 12 to 16, depending on the beer.
Okay. So let's say, all right, let's just say $15 a beer. Hold on. You want to raise NIL money a significant amount. 2 million divided by 15. So they sold 133,000 beers. I guess it's not that much. Say you add $1 to the beer and you sell.
Hang on, Nate. I hate to cut you off, but this is breaking news. Jim Harbaugh is going to the Chargers.
Awesome. So they're going to suck next year too.
Yeah.
Like, and I don't know if Wisconsin will be better, but it's going to be Penn State and Ohio State are going to be the two best teams in the conference next year.
Yeah, I'm not ruling out Oregon. Dylan Gabriel and that loaded roster. So yeah, I think those are your top. Yeah. I think those are your top three, though.
We will make the playoffs next year, and then
hopefully
lose in the first round.
All right, let's finish this up with your math, though.
Well, yeah. Anyway, so they sold about 150,000 beers. Like, you want to make some NIL money, add $1 to every beer, right? And then like add $1 to every concession. People aren't going to notice it when they're buying it at that level, and give that $1 to NIL. And you make.
I do have one complaint. They give out 16-ounce cans. If you go to like a pro game, it's a 24-ounce can. It's only like $2 more. It's like 15.
Yeah. Oh my 16. God. That was the thing in Mercedes-Benz. Like, and so Mercedes-Benz, they had 24-ounce cans, and I forget what it was. It was some local Atlanta brewery, and you can get like two for $18 or something.
Yeah.
So like we were hammered. But
I went to a Washington Capitals game back in December. Got a $50 double rum and Coke at the game.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
We go to Broadway, right? So the most expensive drink you'll ever have is in a Broadway theater. So that'll be like, you get a glass of wine and it could be like $80 or something. You get a split of I mean that cocktails are $60 or $70 there. So
yeah, it's insane.
But people are rich, I guess, too. They go to those things. So
that's true.
Anyway.
Oh well. That's
hey man.
Another good one.
Go, I guess, not Ravens. Chiefs? Not Chiefs either.
I don't know.
49ers.
Yeah, I don't know. Lions, 49ers, whatever. How about Rasheed Walker not allowing a sack to Micah Parsons or Nick Bosa?
Yeah, really good.
Did not see that coming. 7th round pick, now the starting left tackle of a playoff team.
Yeah.
No one saw that coming. Phil Trotwine, you better sell the shit out of that because it'll help you.
Well, Juice Scruggs too, like got hurt
early.
Looking
very good. Yeah.
Full-time starter at guard. So yeah.
And CJ Stroud got like their own handshake now and shit too.
Yeah. So Trotwine, like, so that's the other thing. Maybe like losing Caden Wallace and Olu and stuff. Maybe it'll be okay because Trotwine can develop talent, right? And we never thought so in the past. So
seems that way. Oh well. Well, that's going to be it for this one. We'll be back at some point. I don't know what's going to happen over the next month or so that is going to be like life-changing for us to talk about, but we'll figure something out.
Oh my God. Like there's multiple wars going on, like Texas.
I mean, okay.
I know what you mean, but I'm just expanding it to like.
I know what you mean. I know what you mean.
We'll come back with breaking news on the Middle East war.
Yeah, maybe next time. Yeah. All right, so we will see you next time, and I'm gonna drag Nelly on here next time because I'm so sick of him telling me he's good and then he doesn't show up. So we're gonna get to the bottom of that next time.